Hi guys, my name is Agnes and I just finished filming a video about 10 questions people usually ask when they go whale watching in Iceland, and I answered all those questions, and this brought me to thinking I could make a video with some good memories that I have with whale watching. So I've decided to talk to you guys about my 3 favorite whale watching trips. So it's like a little bit of a story time, and yeah, I hope this inspires you guys to go do what you love, and just let's get into the story. Let's just do it. The first one was actually not a official whale watching trip. It was actually a delivery, or not a delivery, but the company that I was working for was going to Greenland with one of their sailing boats for the first time to explore the area, and I was one of the lucky ones to be on board. We got into some really bad weather, and I will not lie, I was super seasick. So I didn't feel very good, and I stayed on deck because that's where there's fresh air, and I didn't want to go downstairs and be sick. So I stayed there even though there was huge waves. It was probably raining. We were really wet and it was cold, and you know, it wasn't the most pleasant time. But as we were going through those huge waves, I mean, we were on a decent boat, not a big boat, but like a good sized sailing boat, and there were those waves just like surpassing us in heights so much, and I was just like, I was really impressed. And then suddenly I just saw those dolphins, and around Iceland we have white-beaked dolphins, so I saw those dolphins and they were just riding the waves. And when the waves were like going up, I could see from the side, I could see the dolphins swimming, and I just remember sitting there being so seasick, feeling physically so bad, and just being, whoa, this is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. And it was incredible to see those animals in their element completely. You know, they're not cold, they're having fun in the waves, they're just traveling from one place to another, they don't care, and we're just there miserable. And it reminded me how much this is their world. And this was like the second year I was working in the whale watching company, so I was experienced but not super experienced, and this is a lesson I took for the rest of the time I was working, and that I still take when I go in the nature and I'm in the element of another animal. This is not my place, this is theirs, and it was a beautiful lesson, and I still think about this when I think of the best whale watching trip I've ever had. So yeah, that's the first one. The second best whale watching trip I had was also not supposed to be a whale watching trip completely to begin with, but turned out being a beautiful trip. It was actually, we're having some private customers on board, so I just mean it was a family coming on board, and we were traveling with them for about 3 days on a sailing boat, so making them see the northern coast of Iceland and stopping in some villages. We stopped also on a little island. We did a few things like that. It was really fun. There were kids on board, which was awesome. And I remember we were in a part, we're getting close to where our final destination, and me and the captain were alone on deck, and it's one of the boats that you can manage to be two to work with the sails, especially if the captain is really active. So that's what we were doing. We just put some sails and we stopped the engine, and there were humpback whales a little bit everywhere around, and we just started tacking. Tacking is a form of turning when you're on a sailing boat. We started doing some tacking, and with the humpback whales just, you know, coming out, going down, showing us the fluke. It was incredible. The part that for me was even more beautiful, I would say, is that it was getting close to winter time, if I remember well. It was quite cold, so we were very well dressed, and there was a little bit of snow starting to show on some of the mountains, and the mixture of this snow a little bit on the mountains and of the whales coming out, and you being on a sailing boat, and these are traditional wooden sailing boats, so they are gorgeous. So on this beautiful old style sailing boat with all the sails up, just tacking with no engine, it was just like, I couldn't ask for anything better that day. It was beautiful. I felt accomplished at the end of the day. And a funny fact, actually, the gaff, which is a wooden part on some kinds of sailing boats, actually the part that goes onto the mast, which is the fork, the rope that was holding it broke, and we ended up having a sail just like going a little bit crazy. But strangely, I actually had a lot of fun. So that combined with the whales, with the weather, with the scenery, beautiful, beautiful trip. My third best memory of whale watching would be quite different from the two first ones. This time it was a whale watching trip with tourists on board that were there for that. So we did about 3 to 4 hour whale watching trips on the sailing boats. It was a day where there was no wind at all. And I used to work in this beautiful bay. You guys can look it up. It's called Husavik. And this beautiful bay. And when there's no wind at all, the water becomes flat, completely flat, like a mirror. You can't see any movement except for when there's boats or whales. That's it. But the water is so calm. And if you're lucky and you find good whales in this kind of weather and you can just turn the engine off, that's the best. And that's what we did. So the captain decided to turn the engine off, and it was a beautiful summer day, which doesn't happen that much. So don't expect this when you go on a whale watching trip in Iceland. We were in t-shirts. Yeah, we just took everything off. It was way too warm. There was no wind to keep us cooled down, and it was a beautiful sunny day, so we were in t-shirts. And I remember being there watching the whales, and I stopped using the mic because we do use a mic usually, but I just decided to stop using it because everybody could hear me without the mic because it was so silent. And I put the mic down and I just start talking, you know, saying stories, talk about the whale, and then I kept myself silent for a little while so people could just enjoy the whales without any other noise. So what you could hear is just like the whales coming up to the surface. So you hear the water breaking and then going back down, and then again, and a few around. And I remember that we were so lucky because we had so many whales around us, but I could also see other boats from my company and other companies as well, maybe like 100, 200, 300 meters away from me, and they also had the engines off, and they also had whales around them, everybody in t-shirts, and we were just waving from one boat to another, saying hi, because we all know each other. And the tourists were just there like, wow, this is whale watching in Iceland. And at the end of the trip I had to like make them realize, I was like, you guys are so lucky. A day like this is rare. The weather was excellent. There was no wind, which is a little bit sad because we couldn't do any sailing, but we were still on this beautiful, gorgeous boat. And you know, you had whales all around us. You could hear them clearly, see them clearly. There's no way that anyone didn't see anything. It was just too incredible. And yeah, I remember that being a really beautiful day, just being able to relax and enjoy this with them. Okay, so I ended up doing my 3 favorite whale watching trip stories. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I could do so many other videos like this about so many other things. I am pretty lucky. I have done a lot of different things in my life already, and I would love to share those with you. Maybe it's a little way of inspiring you to go do what you love, even though it's not always easy. But yeah, I have plenty of other stories. I'll probably do another little story time in the near future as well. So if you guys are interested in videos about whale watching, I'll have links to that down below that I have already. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys very soon, and yeah, thanks for being here. Bye!